For months now, the mainstream media has been shilling for Assassin's Creed Shadows, and it's really only gotten worse since release. They have touted the Ubisoft 2 million players number, ignoring the fact that they didn't specify 2 million sales. We have them ignoring bugs and glitches that gamers are calling out because they only want to paint a positive picture with this. But over the weekend, things did not go as well as I think that they were all expecting, because they can say there's been 2 million players, but it's very suspicious given on Steam the game really did not do good. This is an article by Fandom Wire that talks about how Ubisoft and EA both had a rough time with their latest AAA RPGs, Assassin's Creed Shadows and Veilguard. We've seen that both games had solid launches in some respects, but neither has managed to meet expectations either in player engagement or in critical reception. While Assassin's Creed Shadows managed to break a record for the franchise, which is great for them, don't get me wrong, it still failed to crack the Steam's top 20. The Veilguard has been weighed down by corporate meddling and being lackluster, but which game truly performed worse? Now, I am not sitting here saying that Assassin's Creed Shadows was a total failure, because that's just not true. We always knew that this game was going to sell a couple million copies. The problem is that they need, from what we understand, to sell 7 million copies. And it's not like Assassin's Creed games haven't hit those heights in the past. It's a massive franchise with millions and millions of fans. It just seems like they're nowhere close to that, given by the charts and the information that we have, because if we take a look on Steam, the all-time peak at this current point in time is 64,000 people, which is not a lot. It says, though, Ubisoft had high hopes for Assassin's Creed Shadows, and in some ways it delivered. The game set a new peak player record for the series on Steam, and we even saw it surpassing Assassin's Creed Odyssey's all-time player count. They have reported that the game has had over 2 million players, and it's also currently sitting at a very positive review score on Steam, and I'm glad that there are so many people that are playing it and enjoying it. I'm glad you are getting your money's worth. I've been streaming a playthrough. I do not hate it so far, but I also think that it is just not a really good Assassin's Creed experience. I miss the older formula. I'm not the biggest fan of the newer one. That's always going to be my personal preference, but it's still an okay game, though it's extremely historically inaccurate, which is very hard to look past. The characters are just really mediocre if you consider them to be new characters and just like fictional characters. There are a lot of bugs, a lot of glitches. It's just not a great experience all around. But they're saying, oh, there's 2 million players in game, but they're also showing 64,000 as the all-time peak on Steam. Just seems very suspicious to me. And despite the initial success, industry veteran Grums noted that it never broke into Steam's top 20 most played games. By its final weekend tally, AC Shadows had peaked at just 64,825 players, trailing behind expectations and performing 27.5% worse than Dragon Age the Veilguard for PC. And for a franchise as big as Assassin's Creed, we might have reason to worry. It is just so hilarious that Dragon Age the Veilguard, a game that severely underperformed, did not meet expectations, and ended up basically killing BioWare, did better on PC than Assassin's Creed. It's just so comedic. I would have never expected this to happen. I thought that it would have at least launched with 100K on Steam, and it didn't even get close to that. As the title said, it compares it directly to the Veilguard, which didn't have a record-breaking launch. It barely had a noteworthy one at all. The game reached 1.5 million players in 2 months, but this number includes players who played it through EA Play Pro, meaning actual sales were even lower. And the same thing goes for Ubisoft Plus. You can play this via that subscription service, and those numbers are part of that 2 million. It's not like they're separate. EA's Andrew Wilson had, of course, blamed Veilguard's failure on bad word of mouth and lack of shared world features, but of course we know the truth, that the real issue is simply just that the game was shallow and unintuitive, which is very sad because Dragon Age was a great franchise previously. It's not anymore. And of course, one of the biggest criticisms against Shadows is that it feels like an RPG in name only. Ubisoft has been taking the series into RPG territory since Origins, but Shadows exposes the flaws in the transition more than ever. We have skill trees, extensive loot, and dialogue choices, but they're just there to be there, which I totally agree with. So it never even broke into the top 20 on Steam. A lot of people are questioning these player numbers, and there are also a lot of viral threads and posts on social media talking about this game being broken, having lots of bugs and glitches. So it will be interesting to see over the next couple of days or weeks how this game continues on. If they say that they hit 10 million or 12 million players, or if we're going to see them hit like the 3 to 4 million mark, which was always my initial expectation, and then it kind of fizzles out. But it just seems all very suspicious at this point in time. And from what we understand, they need to hit 7 million copies sold to actually be able to tout this as a smashing success. So only time will tell if that happens, but for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.